Hello, everyone. It is so cool to be here and see so many familiar faces, so many heroes of mine in the room. Anna Sale was one, and we kind of went through some of the same things. My name is Glynn Washington. I am the host and creator of Snap Judgment. And some of you who might not know Snap, I'll give you a little bit of a brief history. In 2007, 2008, PRX, our own Carrie Hoffman, and at the time Jake Shapiro, they launched a contest for somebody who was hosty. They did not say what that meant. They just said, just the kind of, and they didn't say what the prize was going to be. They just said it's a contest for somebody hosty, and 1,500 people applied for this thing, and they picked 10. I was one of those 10 people, and then we had to duke it out. Every week they kicked somebody off the island. And there was this dude who I thought was like the one to beat, this dude from Jacksonville, Florida, by the name of Al Letson, and who went on to host Reveal and such, but we both won. They picked us both, thank you, Carrie. And so initially we, out of speeding this up a little bit, but we were able to get the initial funding to start Snap Judgment from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Now, when we did that, we got our first little chunk of change, and they said at the time, what you need to, this is not enough money, I think it was like $800,000. This is not enough money for you to do a weekly show. So at the time, what you need to do is follow the Radiolab model. The Radiolab model was make 5 amazing shows. Do it that way, and that'll be the thing to do. We thought at the time that didn't make sense. It didn't make sense because if we only made 5 shows, no one has any skin in the game. No one cares about us. They'll put the shows on maybe, but there's not part of the thing. What we wanted to do was fill that weekly spot, so if we didn't show up, it was gonna be trouble. So we decided to make it enough to start a weekly show. And this good-looking crew is the first, we came out with a bang. Look, this is not your mother and father's public radio. Some of the people here, Roman Mars went on to found something called 99% Invisible. You might have heard of that. With Stephanie Fu does all sorts of things. There's a lot of people in here, a lot of talent, an amazing group that said, we're gonna make it enough, and we're gonna try to make something special. And this show, we started, I believe on 12 different stations. And NPR said, we're an NPR show apparently, but they didn't pay any attention to us. And then they said, oh, we'll expect to be on about 30 stations by the end of the year. We were on 100. And then maybe another 30 by the end of next year, we're 200. And that's when they started paying attention to the show. And we stayed independent. We're trying very, very hard to stay independent. And I will say this as well. One of the things those first years were so important for us. We did not really engage actively with the philanthropic community. And the reason why was because we did not want to sound like we were engaging with the philanthropic community. We wanted to sound like we were engaged with the people first. And that was a hard thing to do, to say we've got to get our support from them. We need their support. Hopefully, we'll get that support later on. But right now, we've got to make that connection with those people. We've got to establish the models for this show that way then. And so one of the things I want to talk about today is leverage. Because what we wanted to do, what we were able to do, is try to leverage every single thing. At the time, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, they said they wanted a radio show, a TV show, a magazine, a kids show, a stage show, some tchotchkes. They wanted it all. we couldn't do all that, but we had to focus. And so we, for starting the radio show, we used part of that to make a stage show. That we actually did some TV work by filming the stage show. We're trying to leverage every single thing because this is public media. You have to eat the whole pig, right? And it was like leverage. How do we make this do that? Now, let me go back a little bit. That's not right. I don't want to show y'all that yet. That's my secret. So the show was growing, the show was doing its thing, and we're proud of this show that we were able to build. It took almost a decade for us to be a national show, because you have to go one public radio station at a time, and at the same time we're expanding in podcasting with the stage show, all this sort of stuff. We have to leverage every single thing that we were doing. And my partner and I, Mark, we got into this because we love to tell stories. Snap Judgment was founded on the idea of empathy. At our root, the show is about letting someone wear someone else's skin. We're serious about this. We actually kind of think it's holy. That what's really missing from our national dialogue right now is the ability to see through someone else's eyes. And we want to be serious about that. And again, we were born of public media. We were born of public media. We came from public media. We started in public media. We love public media, and we have a mission-driven organization. But a mission-driven organization that has always lived by the skin of our chinny chin chin. I don't even want to talk to you about the time, I've had, this is not my first rodeo. I got a call from NPR saying you're canceled at once as well. And so, oh, we are we? How you gonna cancel something you don't own? And so we ended up going to WNYC, ended up going back home to PRX. This is a long story, I'm moving through this. But we did not go, we wanted to, Mark and I went into this to tell stories. We did not go into this to run a media organization. In fact, there's a lot of better people running media organizations than me. And people like Michael Issip, people like Carrie Hoffman. They're way better at this. My skills is very narrow, but I spent all of our time, my time, instead of telling stories on a stage, trying to keep the ship afloat. And so we started looking for partners around 2000 to 2022. We started looking for partners, and one of them, so we talked to everybody. And we were looking, this is like Anna said, this is a good time to be in this space. The valuations, everything was going good. We in fact, we had a big offer from a group, some of you may know as OZY, O-Z-Y. Some of you don't know this group. The founder of OZY is now in prison. We had a feeling, so we decided not to go with him. Storytellers are emotive. We decided to trust our own emotions. Now, we had been approached by a lot of different groups, but it became apparent that talking to groups like OZY and talking to everyone else who was in this space, that they did not want to do what we wanted to do. They didn't, this is an expensive program to make. It's a hard program to make. It's not necessarily commercially viable. We did a spin-off program called Spook that we actually did for commercial viability. And it was, again, we're leveraging what we have to make this show work. But we needed to find a partner that understood what we were trying to do and really agreed with that as part of their mission. And this is the first message. This is 2022. It's still a great time in the world. This is to Michael Issip, to Holly Kernan, to Linda, I think she's around here as well. What do you think? Y'all want to get married? Who's going to call the pastor? And we're excited about this, but this is, as you might know, things were still good here. About 3 months later was the beginning of the podcast implosion. And that became really, really difficult. I know that KQED had its own goals that it wanted to do as far as audience was concerned. We have a national audience, and millions of podcast downloads. But it's a financial thing as well. It's hard, especially during this time period. And I will just say that KQED, they kind of went out there. They said that our mission is your mission, and we're going to try to make this work, even though there is some financial precarity with this. And so from this period here, it took another year for us to become essentially hitched. Now, when we talk about leverage, one of the things that we really wanted to bring to the table here was, yes, we are part of public media, but public media has to be part of something else. Right now, we want to tell these stories that we want to tell, and oftentimes we have to bring in other partners besides the one in public media to do so. We just started a show and we were able to launch because of our partnership with KQED called Mind Your Own. And this is a show that was originally pitched as This African Life and was hosted by Oscar winner Lupita Nyong'o. This is a show I've been wanting to make for a decade, but we couldn't. I had to make it we started with Warner to make this show, who put the money up. They went out of business before the show could come out. Had to go to Limonada Media, had to work with CAA, had to do all this stuff before this show finally came out. These are several different organizations that had to work together. And we don't get to do stuff like this in public media. And I think it's so important that, again, that leverage that if it wasn't for KQED backing Snap Judgment, this stuff doesn't happen. We don't get to leverage the other partners. We don't get to have an Amazon billboard with Mind Your Own on it. And and for us, bringing all these partners together, it really does start at home. We needed to be stable in a different type of way in order to make the shows work. And now, digging into that empathy thing, we are telling these stories about, in this case, death row, the Native American community pageants. We get to be doing the stuff that we said we were going to do in the first place. And the only reason why is because we have an organization that had the same mission. If KQED's mission was in conflict with ours, and it's been hard, but this wouldn't have worked at all. Spooked, again, I'm going to close with this. We're trying to take what we already do and find new, different audiences for it by finding new platforms. We have the Spook show. Let's see, what would it work like if it was animated? And see if that will work to get new audiences as well. I, again, am so glad that for us, we're still at the very beginning of this merger, but we're able to actually do blue sky planning on how do we repurpose our content in a way that we would never have been able to do absent it. And so that's the way the mergers work for us. I'd love to tell you all about it later on, but again, I want to thank some of the people in this room who made it happen.